We do that when we look at each other. We do that. It's like everywhere we look, there is nothing but God expressing itself. And I think where the distortion came from is that we looked at what is identified as God and we thought, oh, that looks like a separate something. That looks like a little piece split off. And then how is that little piece going to survive? And how is that little piece going to, make it on its own? And all there is...
Well, you see, the reason it's seen, these things are seen as separate is because first you said, but Father, I'd rather see it myself.
Right.
I'd rather see it my way. And in that act of separation and denial of your source, it caused all of creation to seem to become separated from its source, and that's when instead of an infinite unity, it became broken into an infinite separation of things, distinct and separate and apart from each other, that all must somehow manage to do the immensely unnatural thing of cooperating with each other on the basis of agreements. And the natural harmony of the infinite oneness of God's self-expression was lost, and any harmony that might be achieved through mutual agreements of separated parts would end up having to be something that was enforced rather than utterly and absolutely and eternally natural.
Because they had to keep remembering the illusion.
That is correct.
To keep making it real. To keep recreating it.
To reinforce the illusion, yes. Okay, let us continue.
That is why perception involves an exchange or translation, which knowledge does not need. The interpretive function of perception, a distorted form of creation, then permits you to interpret the body as yourself in an attempt to escape from the conflict you have induced.
Yes. Now, this is also important. The interpretative function of perception, a distorted form of creation, not a new creation. It's always an altered experience of creation itself. When you have made something rather than created, you have not made something new. It is always a distorted form of creation that the interpretative function creates. Okay, continue.
Spirit, which knows, could not be reconciled with this loss of power because it is incapable of darkness. This makes spirit almost inaccessible to the mind and entirely inaccessible to the body. Thereafter, spirit is perceived as a threat because light abolishes darkness merely by showing you it is not there.
Indeed.
Truth will always overcome error in this way.
How? By showing you it is not there. Not by having a war with it and causing it to knuckle under and yield. The battle is with something non-existent. And that's why you ask to know the truth. Because the truth will disclose to you with utter clarity that what you were suffering from isn't real. Continue.
This cannot be an active process of correction because, as I have already emphasized, knowledge does not do anything.
Indeed, and you could read that to say, oh, correction isn't an active process, so maybe I don't have to say anything about a problem I see. No, knowledge does not do anything except reveal what is true, and then because you love your brother, you don't withhold the clarity that you're experiencing. You tell the wife, the cat's right behind you, don't step back, because you care about your brother. Continue.
It can be perceived as an attacker, but it cannot attack.
That you understand that. If truth be told about something you want kept secret, then you will see truth as an attacker, as something violating you, because the thing you want to keep secret is something that you think keeps you safe. Continue.
What you perceive as its attack is your own vague recognition that knowledge can always be remembered, never having been destroyed.
Yes. You might have been able to partition off one small part of the infinite mind that you are and claim that that is all there is of you. But you can't get rid of the infiniteness that you are. And you know what? The reuniting of it in its entirety is inevitable, because the only thing that you are shielding yourself with from the rest of the infinitude of you is an imagination. And imaginations aren't real, and they cannot reinforce themselves. And either sooner or later you will get tired of the effort of reinforcing them, or you will get tired of the stress of living in that unnatural state, or the infiniteness of you outside the boundary you've created will manage to penetrate enough times for you to have experienced sufficient enough illumination for you to realize that there's a different experience available to you that you really prefer to have, and you turn toward it and say, I allow you, I invite you to register with me. That's turning to the altar.
Can you make... I oftentimes I go through my day and I forget to stay in touch. So I just kind of have a standing invitation always to kind of come and say, yoo-hoo. Does that work?
It does.
It feels like it works.
It does indeed.
Because I get lots of little yoo-hoos.
Yes. Yes. It is a good practice, yes.
Well, like on my current job, I feel like it's a completely different job than I've ever had. It's almost like a playground for this, to learn this. The whole thing it's not that I'm going and making a living, and it's where I'm learning something completely different in an experiential way.
Where you are allowing glimpses of the kingdom of heaven to occur right there in your workspace.
Mm-hmm. And I feel constant.
Good. Does everyone hear that? Everyone thinks of heaven as in the sweet by and by after you die. And no one's looking for it right now, because as in heaven, so on earth makes it sound like there are two places. The delightful part of everything we're talking about is the fact that right here where you say on earth, there is nothing present but the kingdom of heaven. Here and now is where you should be curious to experience glimpses that can grow into more persistent visions or experiences of reality that ultimately will break down the resistance you have been maintaining to the experience of your wholeness.
And effortlessly.
Yes, exactly. And that is a good point to end for today.
Thank you. Thank
You are welcome. You are welcome.
We are so blessed.
And I look forward to being with you next week.